Namaste. Welcome to the Art of Being You. This is day 4. The shame of divorce. Whew. This one's gonna bruise. I made a promise. I made a commitment. These statements rang in my ears for years preceding my divorce. I had convinced myself that I could take it. I could take the gaslighting, the silent treatments, the rage over a seemingly simple misunderstanding. I told myself I made a commitment and that I would choose to only see the good and the beauty until I simply couldn't any longer. There were so many days and nights that I would cry in silence at the mistake I had committed myself to, each time saying to myself, I can't do this anymore. I simply can't do this anymore. The pain of being abused is unlike anything I ever wish on another living being. The gut-wrenching fear that gripped me when he lashed out at me was something I will never tolerate again. I didn't feel safe. One day, head hung in shame, I simply said, I'm really unhappy. And that was it. That was the phrase that led my 9.5-year marriage into the societal joke that it was. I had never felt so helpless, so ashamed, so fearful of my future as I did the days that followed that statement. What the fuck was I gonna do now? I actually was grateful my mom had passed and that I only had to break the news to my dad, but that was hard enough. The shame I felt for not being able to work it out has held me in a state of relationship freeze. If I couldn't trust my own commitments, how the hell was I ever going to live a life of integrity? My own codependency patterns, negative self-talk, self-sabotage, low self-worth flooded my nervous system, and for months I wondered if I had only been able to be more fill in the blank, resilient, stronger, loving, giving, tolerating, softer, accepting, less judgmental, less sensitive. If only I had tried harder, maybe it all could have gone in a different direction. If only I had the tools that I have now, maybe I should have been the one to save the marriage and developed a deeper, more abundant life with him. This was my shame, my ego speaking, all of the beliefs that I'd had about life, marriage, him, all coming to the surface. I now know, almost 3 years past our divorce date, that there was no way I was ever going to heal my shame story with him. He had his own. When you're with someone who is incapable of seeing anything wrong with their behavior, it really can feel like a lost cause. And so, instead of trudging along like so many couples I know, my soul had a new plan. And that plan was to get really, really clear about the boundaries I needed, the love that I deserved, and the trust that was required within me to move forward. The shame of divorce came from all angles. My family, my clients, my community, but none so strong as the ones that came from my own ego, the thoughts and beliefs about what it actually means for me to be committed to someone. When I realized I had never committed to myself to me, that was when the shame finally lifted. My marriage was a brilliant mirror for me to see what I had accepted as good enough for way too long. The day 4 rewrite, my divorce victory. When you're used to being abused in small ways your whole life, by allowing yourself to accept that behavior, it is absolutely our subconscious running the show. It's safer and comfortable to live in the dark than it is to step out into your own light. I was 42 years old when I got married for the first time and had just moved from the West Coast back to the land of my childhood. I had just gotten sober and was rebuilding my life when wham, right out of left field, I was walking down the aisle planning a life with someone when, if truth be told, I knew nothing about. There were many red flags, which I subconsciously chose to ignore out of the conditioned thoughts of, at least you aren't alone and it'll get better. And when it didn't get any better, when I looked around and deeply felt in my body what I craved, it wasn't marriage. It was a sense of belonging, a sense of being with someone in this beautiful, messy world together. My lessons from my 9.5-year marriage are endless. I uncover one almost daily, as that soul contract was my best teacher. The biggest gift of the transformation that it gave me was that I was in charge of my own happiness. Me. I had learned that we need people to complete us, which is total bullshit. Yes, people need people, but not in the way that I learned it. We need ourselves first. We live with ourselves in the solitary moments where there is no one to count on but yourself. I had to and continue to reconnect to the parts of me that I started becoming once getting sober, but had forgotten about because I'm married and it's all going to be amazing from here on out. My divorce victory came when I had to set boundaries for my new life as I was transitioning back to being a single woman. Those boundaries were a bright neon sign because they were rejected and created resentfulness and more anger than I'd ever seen. And I held firm. If I was going to heal, if I was going to make my life my own, this was where I had to start. People show you their true colors when you tell them about your personal boundaries. And beware those who take offense to your boundaries. It was the final red flag that cued me in to the fact that divorce was not only the best choice, it was my sole choice. Our contract was up, and I finally felt safe. Divorce taught me many things, that sometimes the person in front of you is there for a very short season, so let go of attachment, and that if I am to be happy, it is up to me, regardless of who is in or not in my life. That I am worthy of love, that I am lovable, I am deserving of tenderness and acceptance and fun and joy and incredible intimacy. I know that I'm worthy because I exist. Shame comes in many ways to teach us just how incredibly worthy we are simply by existing. Shame no longer controls my life, my relationships, or how I show up. Shame and I will always be good friends, but for now, at least, I am taking the path less traveled, the one where shame is but a memory. Join my workshop, October 28th through November 1st, to get deeper insights about how shame is blocking you from fully, wholeheartedly living authentically. Namaste.